Grief is exhausting. It's not just emotional, it's physical, mental, even spiritual. And when we're in the depths of loss, there's a temptation to do maybe one of two things: either throw ourselves into work to avoid the pain or shut it down completely, just feeling too overwhelmed to even function day to day. Both, both of these can lead to burnout. I know this firsthand because I recently lost my father in law to cancer. And through this painful experience, I've seen just how easy it is to neglect our own well being in the name of being strong or keeping busy. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to move through loss in a way that honors your grief without burning yourself out. We'll explore why our nervous system reacts the way that it does, how to recognize burnout traps in grief, and practical steps to regulate your emotions so you don't lose yourself in the podcast. Welcome back to the Burnout Fairy podcast, where burnout meets boundaries, self care is sacred, and rest is our resistance. So, today I really want to talk to you about grief because it's such a personal path that I have been on these last couple of months. Grief is unpredictable. Some days you feel okay, and other days it hits you like a tidal wave. And our culture doesn't really teach us how to grieve. We're told these anecdotes like stay strong or keep busy or time heals all wounds. It's very minimizing and avoidant, and it doesn't get to the heart of what we're experiencing or even what we need in the moment. And here's the truth is that grief takes energy. Your body and mind are processing an enormous loss. And if you don't make space for it, it'll find ways to force itself into your life, whether that's through exhaustion, brain fog, sometimes even physical illness. And this is where burnout sneaks in. Some people overwhelm to numb the pain, and others isolate and shut down, completely unable to function. Both are nervous system responses to stress. There's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. If we don't pause and recognize what's happening, we can end up stuck in survival mode. So, the reality of grieving while managing life. So, as I mentioned at the start of this, I lost my father in law a couple of months ago to a long battle with cancer. And I noticed immediately after his passing, I was throwing myself into being of use, being productive, being a help to the family, trying to fill a role and fill a gap wherever I could, just being a stalwart helper to my family and supporting everybody along the way. But I wasn't finding support for myself. I wasn't truly reaching out and making space for me and how I was feeling. And I remember the one day I didn't have anyone to reach out for, any tasks to do, anything to chase down or to manage. It hit me like a ton of bricks. And it wasn't just the grief of the loss. One of the things I've noticed, and for me, this was my first time having a friend or family member, losing a friend or family member to a long illness. And I didn't realize how much I was holding in my body during the process. We found out his diagnosis about 5 years before he eventually passed. And there was a tightness I was holding in my body, that waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's something I've not experienced before with loss. I have been, I have experienced an inordinate amount of loss and death in my life. And all of it has been sudden, or we knew it was coming, like my grandmother from dementia and Alzheimer's. But this, there was hope tied into it. And that hope was this tension in my body, was connected to this tension in my body. And so when everything kind of fell through, there was this enormous like wave that went through my system, and having to navigate that and make space for that. I have had days where I'm okay, and I've had other days where I've had to cancel plans or adjust things that I've had in motion in order to protect, nourish, and love on my nervous system and give space for what was coming through rather than trying to push through it. I had moments where I was forcing myself to do things, like even showing up to work, and I had to go, I need some space. I had to ask for space because I realized I was reacting and behaving in a way that was not congruent with myself. And it was because I was avoiding processing what I needed to process. I had to remind myself that grief is not just something to get through, it's something to move with. And that meant intentionally choosing to slow down even when my instinct was to speed up. So, how do you process grief without burning out? First, recognize your nervous system's response to grief. Everyone has a unique way of experiencing, processing, responding to grief. Are you overworking? I'm an overworker. I overwork when I am stressed out, grieving. I use work as an avoidance mechanism for feeling what I need to feel or dealing with the things I need to deal with. Maybe you're shutting down. My partner's way of processing is to avoid and ignore and to delay. Are you feeling disconnected from your body? Dissociation is a strong response, can be a strong response among some. Number 2 is to schedule space for your grief. I know this sounds really wild, but there is a system, there is a process called titration. And essentially, what it is it's modulating what you're able to take in accordance with what you have capacity for. So that sounded weird. What the heck does that mean? Think of a dish and a sink. You need to wash a pan that you have in the sink. And if you turn the faucet on full blast, it's going to hit that pan. There's going to be all this stuff, that water that sprays back in your face. If there's gross, soggy food stuff in the pan, that's going to cut. You don't want that on you. You don't want that in your face, in your eyes, in your nose, in your mouth. You don't want that. So instead of turning it on full blast, and also, if the water comes on really hot, you don't want to be scalded. So instead of turning it on full blast, you'll open the faucet gradually, increasing the water flow until it meets with the capacity of the job at hand. You don't need the sink to be at full blast unless you have a really crappy sink. You just need it to have a steady water stream so that you can do your scrubbing out of the pan and then empty the water. And maybe you turn on the spray nozzle. But if that spray nozzle comes right on, you're going to end up with all this backsplash and get all messy. And then you have to change. It's a whole thing. So titration is so important. One of my clients in my breathwork club says that the one of the main things she loves about it is it gives her an hour just once a month to process, and it's the safety of having that time limit on what she needs to process is what makes it so accessible. So if you're instead of pushing grief away, create moments for it. Set a timer. I do this too. I have moments where I'll be driving and it hits me and I will pull over and I will set a 10-minute timer and I will let myself feel what I need to feel. And then as soon as that timer comes on, I put on a fun playlist or an engaging podcast. I wipe my face off. If I can splash some water, I'll do that. And then I'll get back to what I'm doing. Sometimes in the middle of my workday, I need to walk away and go sit in the bathroom and feel what I'm feeling. And you may prefer to journal, like set a timer and write in a journal to help contain what you're feeling. Maybe going out for a walk and getting some outside perspective. It's like what I do is sitting with your feelings. I'm a water baby. So sometimes when I go to take my shower for the day, I will let myself sob and feel what I'm feeling. And then when I'm ready to wash, that's it. Time is up. It's time to transition into getting ready. The more we allow the grief to flow through us, the less it will control us. You just bottle it up if you don't make space for it. It's going to impact how you interact with other people in the world. It's going to impact your perspective on the outside world. So it's super, super important we make space for it, even if it's only for 5 minutes at a time, even if you're setting your time with a dinky phone timer. There is no wrong way to process and make space for your grief. Titrate yourself. Number three is to regulate your nervous system. So this could be something like breath work or movement. One of my friends is going through a depressive streak and she's been posting on Instagram every day about how she's playing like fun music and dancing to feel and express what she's feeling in her body instead of holding it in and dismissing. You might also try some grounding exercises that can help shift you out of survival mode. Something like um, going out and laying down on grass in the sun, if that's accessible to you. Or maybe like again, I'm a water baby. So getting into water, any kind of body of water, the shower, a bath, getting into an alpine stream, like going out and hiking and getting into some water. If it's raining, getting out in the rain, like those are super grounding and nourishing processes for me. The purpose of regulating, finding some regulation, doing some things to help you shift out of this survival mode is it can get your feet on the floor and help signal to your body, to your brain that you are safe. So, number four is give yourself permission to rest. Give yourself permission to rest. Rest is our rebellion. Grief is work. Grief is hard, hard work. Your body needs rest. And that doesn't mean you're being lazy. It means you're healing. Healing is hard work. And it's so important that we do what we need to do to nourish our bodies as well as our heart. Eat good food. And I don't mean like Whole 30, eat super cleanly. Eat the food that nourishes you. Like I've been really leaning into soups and ramens. It's comfort food, but it's also good. It feels good in my body. Try to find like your comfort foods that help nourish and make you feel good in your body. If pizza is your comfort food, but it's not making your body feel good, maybe have that in a little bit more moderation, but try to focus on food that is healing, that is nurturing, that makes you feel better where you're at. It contributes to the healing, it contributes to the rest that your body needs. And finally, ask for support. You are one, not alone, and you don't have to carry this grief alone. Engage a therapist, a coach, a support group, a friend, a trusted loved one. Allowing yourself to be witnessed in grief is part of the healing. Lean on your communities, lean on your friends. And if you're like me and you're not someone who really likes to talk through processing, say that. Sometimes I just want someone to be in my space with me. I don't want to talk about what's bothering me. That isn't always helpful for me. In fact, sometimes talking about things makes it more difficult for me to process and work through and heal. Sometimes the distraction is nice. I have friends that know when I say, "Hey, I just want you to come sit on the couch with me and watch a movie. I don't want to discuss anything outside the movie that we're watching." They understand the assignment. Be clear about what it is that you need. If you are going through a process yourself and you don't want to answer 20 questions, you don't have to. Just say that. Just say that what kind of support you need. There is nothing wrong with that. Even saying, "I don't know what I need, but I need help," maybe can encourage someone to invite some options. I know when I was in my grief, I didn't know what I needed. I knew I needed something, I needed company. I didn't want to talk about things. My friend was like, "You know what? I'm really good at tacos. I think you need tacos." And I'll be damned if that wasn't like the most healing evening. Everybody needs more tacos. So, in closing, if you're moving through loss right now, I want you to know there's no right way to grieve. Your way is perfect, however that looks. But there are healthier ways to support yourself in the process. Your grief deserves space. Your body deserves care. You don't have to burn yourself out to prove that you're strong. If this resonated with you, please feel free to share this episode with someone who might need it. And if you're looking for more support navigating burnout and emotional exhaustion, I have some free resources for you to check out in the show notes. Also, if you're looking for more support, I would love to invite you into my breathwork club. It's a once a month club where we connect for deep breath work and transformation and process through whatever we're experiencing in the moment, and some follow up with care and journaling exercises and community to support you in your process. So I would love for you to be kind to yourself today. You're doing better than you think.